welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the longtime and vaunted Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. But it's not what you think, because it's going to be controversial. We're going to ask the question, whether or not he is a sellout. So let's take a look at some of the evidence here. We have a series of comments from a Facebook Q&A he did for one of his last EU novels, Scoundrels, in 2013. And he's making some comments about loving to write more Star Wars books, I guess under the Disney era. He's talking about what they may do with the EU. This was before the big decision was made in 2014. Using the word bulldoze, we know how that turned out. And then he's basically trying to find a job, which I can't blame him for. He's talking up Kathleen Kennedy and crew here, saying that he thinks they'll do right in the new era. And then he's kind of pitching a story idea down here that obviously would never come to fruition given the EU edict that came down in April of 2014. And that, my friends, is worthy of a mouse spacing. Fast forward 3 years later, and it gets really interesting. In an interview with The Daily Dot, Timothy Zahn said the following about the Give Us Legends movement. I mean, I'm very flattered that they consider the expanded universe so close to their hearts and such, but yeah, I mean, they're not going to affect what Lucasfilm is doing. I'm sorry to see people spend that much emotional energy on something that, well, it's books. It's stories. Further down he says, I appreciate the fan loyalty, but, as you say, they're not going to influence what Disney does or what Lucasfilm does, and, again, I don't want to be insulting or anything. It's hard to find the right words for this one. It's almost as if he doesn't want to have an opinion on this and is trying to play both ends against the middle. A little over a month later, it was announced with great fanfare that Grand Admiral Thrawn would be returning to Star Wars, in the form of a cartoon character on Rebels and a novel written by none other than Timothy Zahn, who, I might add, in the prior interview we looked at, had made it clear that he had not been approached by Lucasfilm. When he made those statements in the Daily Dot interview, was he trying to earn a job, or did he already have a job and he was just towing the company line? We'll take a look at the latter theory in a moment. But first, let's take a look at this question from an interview with StarWars.com that was conducted around the time that the new novel was introduced. Question: are you incorporating any elements from your previous Star Wars books into the new Thrawn novel? I've thrown in a few bits and pieces, nothing too blatant, just little Easter eggs for those who are familiar with my other books. Granted, this was early on in the process and things could have changed, but based on the second paragraph you see in his answer there, it must have been a huge change, as including that rewritten story in the book would completely conflict with what he's saying in the response. Going back to the towing the company line theory, right around that time, Dave Filoni gave an interview with StarWars.com where he gave a condescending diatribe on the status of expanded universe and canon. While his words were not as carefully chosen as Zahn's, the message was clear: forget about expanded universe. By 2018, it could be said that Zahn had developed a chip on his shoulder. In this Yahoo interview, he had the gall to trash Lucas's vision of Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, and he went so far as to say that he essentially rewrote the motivations in his second Thrawn book, Thrawn Alliances. I will give him some credit for criticizing The Last Jedi in this interview, but he doesn't do so with the logical reasons that legitimate critics of the film use. Earlier this year, it was announced that Zahn would get a new trilogy called the Ascendancy Trilogy about Thrawn in his native region, and it was characterized here as building that society from the ground up, which obviously is not correct because the expanded universe had quite a bit of information on this enigmatic race. So it's pretty clear where he stands on the legacy material that had been around for 20 years. This IGN article that came out about a week ago is timely, as I had planned on making this video in mid-July, but it talks about how there wasn't a lot of continuity control in the early days of the expanded universe novels. I had asked that exact question when I was at Celebration 2 in Indianapolis in a session that was being moderated by Pablo Hidalgo, and rather than getting a real answer, I had a condescending response from him about some retcon crap that they had come up with to fix some of Zahn's own problems, trying to shoehorn in dates and other stuff about the Clone Wars. Here I am with Aaron Alston and his awesome Starfighters of Adamar at said event. One of the main points of that IGN article seems to be that EU continuity sucks, Disney continuity is awesome, which we know is not the case because some of their own movie continuity is inconsistent, such as when some of the main characters meet. I will forever be thankful to Mr. Zahn for this. But at the end of the day, things are only worth what people are willing to pay, and bullshit is only worth what people are willing to believe. He compromised his integrity by allowing his character to be ruined on Rebels. Also, he's been wishy-washy on whether or not he's going to stand with the fans or appease his benefactor. Hey, we all have to make a living, but at the end of the day, do we have values or not? If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments.
And where we from? No BS allowed. No BS allowed. No BS